Hi everyone and welcome back to Talking to Teachers. My name is Chris Height and today I'm joined by a very special guest from the CBA faculty. Today I'm with a CBA legend, Mr. Nunan, who is the Associate Principal for Academics as well as an English teacher here at the Academy, my English teacher. How are you today, Mr. Nunan?
Chris, I'm great. Thank you so much. I've been waiting for this moment. I love your videos. I love all the interviews you've done, and yeah, can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Nunan, first question. I always ask everybody the same question. What's your CBA origin story? How'd you end up teaching here?
So I was a CBA student, and I graduated here in 1987. And when I graduated, I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer because that's what you did back in 1987. And there was, in fact, when I was a senior here, there was a scholarship that you could go for. It was called the Blaustein Scholarship. And if you got it, you would pay for your college in New Jersey for free. I was going to Rutgers. And in return, you would teach, I think, 2 or 3 years in like an underprivileged school system. And my mom found this, and she was beside herself, like, here it is, answered all their prayers. And she brought it to me, and I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. Why would I do this? And 2 years later, I came home one day, and I was like, Mother, I'm going to be a teacher, you know? And what had happened was, sophomore year, I took a class called Human Evolution. It was not a class I needed for my major. It met like Friday morning at 8 in the morning. It was like complete other side of the campus from where I was living, so I had to get up even earlier to get on a bus to get there. And it was being taught by a TA. So on paper, it's like there's nothing about the scenario that sets this up as being a meaningful experience in my life. Well, it turns out the TA was the son of the department chair, and he was outstanding. And I don't know who this fellow was, but I would not at all be surprised if he is now the head of, life sciences at some prestigious university somewhere. And despite all the odds being against me, I was in this class every Friday morning, and I was hooked, and I was engaged, and it was like in a movie. It suddenly, like the clouds parted and the light came down, and it wasn't like eureka. It was like, oh, obviously. Like this has been right in front of me my whole, recent life. And I immediately thought of so many of the teachers I had at CBA. But this was like the first time that it actually occurred to me. I was like, oh, I could actually do that. Like that makes so much sense, And so I jumped into the education program and graduated and applied to a bunch of schools. I got 2 interviews. One of them was here. And thankfully they gave me the job. And I came in and I was terrible. And I looked like I was about 15 years old. And I was very fortunate to be in an English department that was just like wall-to-wall Hall of Famers, like some of the greatest teachers that ever walked these halls, and it was all them and me, and then the faculty in general, just these legends and titans, and so many great memories of just how they took care of me and helped me adjust and helped me learn to do my job. So so that was it. It was something I never, more than just something I thought I never kind of considered doing. It was something I considered and flatly said, I will not do this. And I ended up here, and I've never looked back. And I'm just very grateful that they keep asking me to come back every year, because I'll stay here as long as they'll have me.
Absolutely, Mr. Nunan. A legendary origin story right there. So next question I have for you. How has CBA changed since your time as a student to now being a seasoned teacher? Obviously, there might be some differences.
Oh, no doubt. It's been quite a while. So you got the obvious differences with the building itself has changed in so many ways. And we have the facilities are larger. In terms of we've added hallways and classrooms and gymnasiums and weight rooms and so on. So so physically a lot of it's very, very different. When I was a freshman here, Henderson Hall was all classrooms. In fact, all the freshmen are over there, and so things like that change. Certainly what we're offering, I think, in the academic program has certainly developed and expanded and such in terms of options for our students, as well as options for faculty to teach things differently, like expanding with electives and things like that we really didn't have. We had a much smaller number of those when I was a student here. And I was thinking about this, and a lot of those things, if you've been away for 10 years, 20 years, and you come back, and it can seem like the place is completely different, and in a lot of ways it is. But if you have been here those 10 years, those 20 years, there are a lot of things that really remain the same. It's remarkable to me, you have your friends in the faculty who will retire, and then new teachers will come in, and every 4 years you're saying goodbye to a group of kids that you really liked, and a new group is coming in. So change is a constant here, and yet there's so much consistency between just the kind of kids we're bringing in, what kind of students they are, how well they kind of live up to what we ask them to do, how proud we end up being of them. It's so much of what I want to say here is going to seem cliched, but I promise you it's true. It's such a gift to be able to, be there at the beginning, and you're there in the theater with these freshmen in their opening moments of their time at CBA, and to watch them develop and watch them change and become these individuals, and then to be there at the end. And I'm lucky enough that I get to actually call the names at the end and have them walk up. So it's always a great thing to do. And of course, the faculty likewise. The names will change, the faces will change, but the dedication to the mission, to the students, remains the same here. And so while so many things are very different, I think what allows us to remain a great school is the things that have also been there with consistency.
Absolutely, absolutely. Obviously it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot in my 4 years.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
so
sure. Right.
It's really cool here at CBA.
You were here when we had the Bruce mural still and the Beatles mural. So you were here. You were one of the last groups who was actually there for those. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so Mr. Nunan, next question I got for you: what has been your favorite class/course to teach, and why?
I've taught most of the classes in the English department at this point. I never taught junior honors. I never taught freshman honors, although last year, for a week or two, I was sitting in on Mrs. Viola's class, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, they all offer different things. The freshmen are such a unique group. That's why I broke in with the freshmen and the sophomores. A couple years back, I had to help on a maternity coverage. And I took a group of freshmen after teaching the seniors for forever. And I was like, oh, freshmen, this is I've done this a million times. And it was so hard. And it was such a challenge to kind of remind myself, you can't just waltz in and teach like you've been teaching all these years. Sophomore year in English, it's American Lit, so that's the price of admission, right there. It's worth the price of admission. I will say I've always had a fondness for the juniors. And what I recognized with the juniors was they're at that point where they've been here long enough, and they're mature, and they're capable, and they're ready to follow you and work for you and such. And of course that's true for the seniors as well. But unlike the seniors, and I guess this gets maybe less and less true every year, but they're not quite so consumed with the next thing in college and the college admissions and such. So, they don't have that kind of weighing on them at the same time. But, what my answer is going to be here, Chris. My heart has been with AP Literature for, I don't know how many years I've been teaching this. It's got to be half my time here at this point. AP Lit, I couldn't do all the rest of the things I do each day if I didn't have these 40 minutes to come down and talk to you and your peers there about, poetry and King Lear and grammar, and all these things I love so much. So, it's just such a blessing. I would not be able to, if you told me I had to choose between staying on administrator or being a teacher, that'd be a hard decision. It'd be hard for me to give up teaching. So I hope I never have to. Yeah, but so AP Lit wins out in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. Of course, I'm part of that AP Lit class.
Yep.
Bunch of fun every day.
I have fun. I hope you do too.
Absolutely. Well, next question I got for you, Mr. Nunan. Who has influenced the way you teach, and who's inspired you to teach in your longer career here at CBA?
Sure. Right. So the individual is a guy named Joe Feely. Mr. Feely was my AP Lit teacher when I was a senior here, and I also, as a senior, took a course with him that at the time was called philosophy, and over the years became a class called Myths, Dreams, and Cultures. And it was such an overwhelming experience having Mr. Feely as a teacher, because he was just intense and passionate and kind of frightening in some ways. And it took me time to kind of process all that he was doing. And in the end, it was this was an artist at the height of his powers, a genius, really, And, when I had this kind of moment of awakening my sophomore year in college, the first person I thought of was Mr. Feely. And it only then had that piece of the puzzle been kind of put in there, oh, I see now. And the notion that I could do something like I could do some version of what he does, and not just when I was a student here, there were so many brothers still teaching. So we had Brother Pat Higgins, Brother Greg O'Rourke, who taught history, Brother Christian Jones. I mean, you want to talk about legends, So I came from this background at CBA that had so many inspirational teachers I'd had as a student. So I had that really great foundation. But the great thing is, I can walk into a classroom, as I have in recent years. I can walk into a teacher who's been here for 2 years and just be blown away by what's happening in there, and like literally walk out like I've got to up my game. Like I know what this teacher is accomplishing. Like I don't get that. Like I gotta, the teacher who I know is on their free period, they're in the dining hall giving kids extra help and saying, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Do you understand this?" Like so, I'm like endlessly inspired by just the people I get to work with every day. I feel like it would be difficult to work here and not, be inspired by most or all the people that are around you. It's just such a tremendous faculty, and it's such a great blessing to be part of it.
Absolutely, and the teachers, you guys inspire us obviously to be better. And
I hope so.
At least most of us, at least me. I know you guys inspire me. But next question I have for you, Mr. Nunan. So, how we had a lesson, the poetry lesson, where you incorporated Beatles songs, and I love that lesson actually.
Oh, good.
So, how have you incorporated these pop culture elements into your lessons in like more recent years, or even in the past?
I mean, increasingly sparingly, Chris. I'm at an age where pop culture has left me far behind. My children are all grown up and in college and such. There was a time when I could plausibly make some Gravity Falls references and things like that, but I'm at a point I don't walk that tightrope very much, Chris. I think there's too much potential to kind of fall down into kind of foolishness a little bit. So I'm not going to force some Sydney Sweeney reference, just to kind of see. Exactly. Yeah. See? How dumb would that be? How ridiculous would that be?
It would be a memorable moment, that's for sure.
Horrible. I would lose everything I've worked for all these years. I would lose the respect of millions. At this point, I remember, and a lot of English teachers, I think, had this turning point moment. The sweet spot of pop culture was like the 5 years or so after The Matrix came out, which again now is like ancient history. But that was like such a great moment for English teachers, because it'd be like, you talk about like the allegory of the cave, like, guys, The Matrix, and everyone saw it. It's like, okay, we're absolutely with you on this. And like the first time I made reference to The Matrix, and like I got just like a bunch of blank looks back, I was like, it's over. That's it. That was the last bullet I had in my gun, and it's now not there anymore. And I think now it's inverted itself, where if I encounter students who understand like my pop culture references, if I encounter someone who knows who Guided by Voices are, or like the X-Files, that's like the greatest day of my life, to know that these things are still existing. But the Beatles thing is just a video. Kyle Calgren made this video. He's got a lot of good videos out available. It's just, for you guys, it's one day we're not listening to me up there blather on about things. It's a change of pace. And honestly, I mean, if there's one cultural touchstone I think we should all have an appreciation for as the generations go by, I think it would be the Beatles. If the kids are ever not into the Beatles, then we're in trouble, I think. So it's always it's a little public service, to make sure like we're all aware of who they are, and if you're not already listening to them, hopefully you're going to start soon. You drop the needle anywhere, and it's all good stuff, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always liked the Beatles myself.
Fantastic.
Class,
Chris, I'm not lying when I say that does my heart good to hear. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Well, Mr. Nunan, I just got two more questions for you. One of them was on the original question sheet I gave you. The other one I came up with on the fly, so you'll have to be ready for that.
I have to improv one. Okay, let's go.
So this question, the one that is on the sheet, what do you hope for your future here at CBA?
I mean, for me specifically, I just want to continue to do my job well. I want to continue to have a drive to do my job well, and then to continue to serve my students, put them in positions to succeed. I hope I continue to enjoy what I do. I'm at a point now, I think I'm old enough now where I get to just say I have fun. at what I do. I think when you're younger, you're not supposed to enjoy, because it's supposed to be a grind. It's supposed to be like, I had to work really hard and such. And not that it's like easier now, but there are some things where aren't kind of life or death about it, So I'm glad I'm at a point where I can just like enjoy it, and I can like walk out of a lot of times I walk out of our class and like I need a minute to kind of regather myself, because it was just such a positive experience there. And as an institution, I certainly hope that we never stray from our standards and never stray too far from who we are. I think it's served us well. I think we recognize that. I feel very indebted to all those that came before me in the classroom, and I do feel a responsibility for them as well. Like each of us is just kind of like, this is just a long saga of Christian Brothers Academy, and a lot of us just have a little part of a chapter or maybe like a footnote. But while I have that, I don't want to mess up the work that anything we're achieving now, anything I achieve now in the classroom or wherever is built upon the work that others have done before me. And so I really feel like to honor that work and to keep it alive, it is my responsibility to continue to do what I do well, to represent CBA well, to represent myself well, to do a good job for my students. So I want to make sure that never changes, I think.
Absolutely. And now the last question I have for you came up on the fly. So at the time of this recording, the CBA community at large found out that Bruce Springsteen...
It's cataclysmic.
Bruce Springsteen is playing See Here Now, the local music festival. So Mr. Noonan, I got to ask you, we were talking about Bruce before, but what's your best Bruce story, maybe your favorite Bruce story if you have one?
Oh, no. I mean, I wish I had a meeting Bruce story, because I don't. And I feel a little cheated by that, because I've lived in New Jersey my entire life, and I've never had my bump into Bruce on the boardwalk moment. And maybe that's for the best, because I don't know if I would be able to recover from it. At this point, Bruce would need to wander through my yard for me to have a chance to kind of bump into him. My favorite memory of Bruce, when I was a student here at CBA, and back in the 80s and Born in the USA, the album came out and the tour followed, and Bruce had 10 nights at the Brendan Byrne Arena early on in that tour, and eventually he would come back and play Giant Stadium for probably 10 nights as well. And my mom kept me home from school and set me up with the phone. See, back then, in the olden days, you had to get on the phone and dial a number over and over and over again and hopefully get through and buy your tickets with a credit card. So I was on the phone, and I was, explicit instructions here. Here's how you buy tickets. And maybe 10 minutes into this, I got through and I got 4 tickets. And I was like, awesome. And I called her at work. I was like, I got 4 tickets. She's like, get back on the phone, get more tickets. I called for the rest of the day. I didn't get through one more time. But we got floor seats, opening night, Brendan Byrne Arena, Born in the USA tour. And I didn't know Bruce as well as I do now, but I knew him well enough. And it was everything that people have ever said, just transformative experience. It was, the high point of my life to that point, And I've seen him a bunch of times ever since then. Obviously, he's never disappointed. I've seen him with different musicians, different incarnations of the band and such. Yeah, you never walk away from a Bruce show saying, boy, that wasn't very good, So I don't know, man. This See Here Now thing, it's like something out of the book of Revelations for New Jersey. I mean, it's just like a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun that night, I think. And I hope you're one of them, Chris. You deserve to be there. You deserve to be there front and center.
Me and my brother, hopefully we'll get in.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get in.
Yes. I hope you do. Take lots of pictures to show your former English teacher. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Noonan, I can't thank you enough for joining us on the show today.
I appreciate that.
It was really a great episode. I really enjoyed this a lot.
Wonderful, Chris. If I can, you do a great job here.
Oh, thank you.
You've done a great job with all these, and I look forward to one day, Chris, I'm going to tell my grandkids, see that guy on TV? I once sat down and did an interview with him back at CBA, so I think that's going to happen. It's just fun. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mr. Noonan. Well, for Mr. Noonan, wrapping up here at Talking Teachers for Mr. Noonan, I'm Chris Height. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.